Hi everyone, and welcome to today's horoscope completed by a tarot reading. Today we have a really active and very special sky where the star of this celestial show is definitely the full moon in Libra, which is also a super full moon, meaning that this is the time when the moon is physically closest to the earth, and this can have more than one effect on us, not just an astrological one, but also quite a physical one, because as you know, the moon pulls on the tides, on the water, on the crust of the earth, and 70% of our bodies are also water, so it can have a pretty strong effect on all of us. But of course, the astrological part of the full moon is the most relevant thing for me personally. This is because the sun and the moon are going to converse in a conversation of tension with the Jupiter and Pluto conjunction in Capricorn, and this energy can be really, really challenging for a lot of people because the sign of Libra has much to do with our relationships. So the moon is in the sign of Libra, and the sun opposing the moon is in the sign of Aries, which has to do with the self, especially the primordial self, especially where the ego meets our instinctual selves. So it's not going to be a very easy energy because both the ego and the soul is going to be challenged by whatever Pluto and Jupiter conjunction is going to be changing in our lives. Now, what it means on the world stage, I have talked about this in my previous horoscopes, in my weekly horoscopes. So basically, this is exposing truth. This is grounding all of us as a collective to open our eyes, to acknowledge everything that is going on the world stage, especially as the means how Pluto is deconstructing Capricorn as in centralized power, exposing the dysfunctions, exposing the flaws, the weaknesses, the corruption, the incompetence, and everything that simply doesn't work anymore. So the old rules, regulations, the old structure, the old customs have to fall one way or another. And chances are that this isn't going to be a quick process, but rather it's going to take some time because Jupiter and Pluto meet in the sky once every 13 years or so. And this year, this is their first meeting. Afterwards, Pluto will retrograde, and another meeting is going to be taking place in the summer, and then a final one in the autumn, giving their dance a chance to slowly but very surely expose everything that needs to be exposed, giving us a chance to become aware and make decisions, choices, or process everything that they're going to reveal to us. Personally, however, it has much to do with power because Pluto is our power. So this means, especially in the context of the super full moon, that we're going to be challenged. We're going to be invited to have a very deep and close look of what we do with our personal powers. Now, Pluto, amongst any other symbols, is the planet of psychoanalysis, and in this case, especially self auto psychoanalysis. So, this is an invitation to go deep inside in our minds, in our subconscious, in the most hidden layers of our consciousness, as in Pluto also rules secrets and all that, the occult. And we might be extremely surprised of whatever we see there because this is about power. How much power do we have over our own lives? How much decisional force? How much choices do we have in our lives? Because when we're able to make a choice and stick to it, that is already a very relevant manifestation of power. But because it's all happening in the sign of Libra, where the moon is, it's more about how much power we have over other people in our lives, especially those people who we form partnerships with. So this can be romantic, This can be within a marriage, within a relationship, but also professional, contractual, even friendships, everything really is included here. And most importantly, how much power do others have over us? Now, the sign of Libra has to do with a healthy balance. It has to do with equality. It has to do, those scales have to be perfectly on one position with one another, because that's when balance exists, that's when equilibrium makes all of us proper diplomats in every area of our lives, because we can understand and process the feelings of others, and that gives us the opportunity to project fairness onto others. So this full moon, the light of the moon is going to reveal to us where it is in our relationships that maybe we squander our power, maybe we are supporting people who do not deserve it, we are supporting people who just take advantage of us, but it can also be perfectly the opposite, because if we are the abusers, if we are the ones who take the support and power of others for granted, well, this is also going to be revealed. And chances are our egos and our sense of self, our even our primordial self, our instincts, the sun in the sign of Aries, is not going to be that happy about it. So this may create some assertive moments, this might create some inner frustration, this might create some rage. But the moon in Libra can counterbalance that rage, because if we wish to behold the truth, if we have the courage, if we have the determination to see it as objectively as possible, well, then we shouldn't be offended by whatever we see, but rather we should use the blessing of Pluto in this case, and the blessing of Jupiter, which is the truth, so that we can create balance, so that we have a chance to know what we're projecting upon others, so that we can demand equality and fairness, because we ourselves can offer the same thing, and this already leads to a much more harmonious state. This already leads to taking pride in yourself, in your dignity, in your honesty. And this is a very, very liberating energy, because this is what Pluto wishes to do. It wants to expose all our inner ugliness. It wants to expose that Medusa, full of shame, full of, our own personal corruption, full of our own personal compromises, something that we even hide from ourselves. And when all of those deep subconscious programmings or patterns or shame or whatever, regardless of where it was sourcing from, when we get the chance to see that in the light of the full moon, now that gives us the power to reclaim our powers, to stand in a position of power, and to make choices from that place of empowerment, from that place of honesty, from that place of being grounded in physical reality. Now, this celestial conversation, especially because Pluto is such a dominant power here, reminds me of the prayer of serenity, because all of us, in at least one area of our lives, are going to be invited by the celestial dances to practice it, which means we have to become aware of what it is that we have power over, and with that power we can change whatever and in which direction we desire. But we're also invited to observe where we do not possess any power or any influence, and we're invited to surrender it, to accept it, to bow down and tell the universe that I cannot have any saying in this, so please take it in your own hands and take care of it as best as you think. But of course, this is where Jupiter comes in, because we are also asking to have the wisdom, the blessing of wisdom, to know the difference between the two, when it is the moment to embody our powers and change, and when it is the moment when we have to accept that we do not have any power and just surrender. And this is really, really important in any decision making, which is ruled by the sign of Libra in itself. So this can be a really profound psychological purge, which can guide us to a really empowered and free state, where we no longer fear having to make decisions, having to make choices, and chances are we're going to find out that if we are truly aligned with our inner truth, if we live a life of honesty, mostly honesty with the self, then we are already free. Our minds, our souls, our hearts are already free because we know that no matter what choices we make, they all lead to the same end result. Because anything that is based on honesty, on fairness, on equality and equilibrium, the symbolism of Libra, justice, is going to lead to a positive or at least acceptable outcome. So if you're not afraid of being dishonest, if you trust yourself, if you embody your dignity, you simply cannot make bad decisions. Even if something is apparently a bad decision, even if they might lead you to a certain disadvantage, that is not enough to cause traumas, that is not enough to stop you, because it will just offer you an even powerful lesson, freeing you even more in your future relationships. So, this is really an empowering energy where it can only hurt us, it can only come through as anxiety, depression. Oh, why do people treat me like this? If we look at it from a place of ignorance and self victimization. Pluto in the sign of Capricorn, because Capricorn is the patriarchy, it's responsibility. We are our own bosses, so that means that we have to take responsibility and the inner critic for everything good and bad in our lives. Even if our soul is the one guiding us, we still have to take the inner critic. Whatever happens in our lives, whatever physical reality reflects, especially in our relationships, we are responsible for that fully. Now, we also have a very positive aspect where Mercury, reaching the last degrees of the sign of Pisces, where it's debilitated, meaning that its symbolism isn't expressed in its most positive way, as in, Pisces has to do with the immune system, Mercury in Pisces, doctors, hospitals, and all that. You get the picture. It receives a trine from Jupiter and Pluto, which can mean the truth, getting to the truth, coming up with solutions, scientific discoveries, and the truth, so to speak, leading us to get a more authentic picture of whatever we can expect for the future, but also who is responsible for all of this or how it came into existence is also going to be revealed. Now, if it wouldn't be a sextile, then I would say that this will just spark conspiracies and more confusion. But I do believe that Pluto is going to guide Mercury, the planet of communication, media, journalism, the internet, to truth. And all of us, during this time and in the next couple of days, until Mercury still resides in Pisces, can process both psychologically or scientifically, rationally, whatever is going on on the world stage and whatever it may represent in our own lives. This is the moment when we can reach emotional clarity of what this global disaster and all the other ramifications are going to mean for us individually, where we can see the opportunities that it offers us, because there's not only a bad side to this, there's also a huge opportunity, an opportunity that we have to discover what it means for each of us individually and personally, because Saturn and Mars, after all, are in Aquarius, and that is a sign of the individual, and it is the individual who forms the interhuman connections which build up society. So this is a very strong energy of individuality to this. So that means that this time in quarantine, and it couldn't be an even more ideal manifestation of this, we have to process, we have to go in and see what everything means to us. And of course, not just the future, not just the present, but also the past, how we used to live our lives, and if the way we used to live our lives actually served our highest good, actually meant something to the soul, or only just the body, or were we only just robots executing what was programmed into us, dictated onto us. Now, there's another very positive and uplifting aspect taking place in the sky where Venus, in the sign of Gemini, receives a trine, an aspect of supreme harmony, both from Saturn and Mars from Aquarius. Now, Venus in Gemini is the beauty of the mind, beauty of the thought, beauty of the interhuman connection, solidarity. It is the twins, basically, the most positive expression of the twins. And since it receives the trine from Saturn, now the trine with Saturn can be being rewarded by upholding the rules and regulations, being rewarded by embodying your own dignity, your own fairness, who you are, but at the same time, maybe if you had any creation, maybe if you had any contribution, maybe if you worked intellectually to help some people in the very recent past, through your creations, through however you inspired them, may you be a scientist or a writer or a journalist or a creator, anything that might have to do with Aquarius, you can receive a massive celestial reward. But at the same time, on the world stage, this can mean new technologies, it can mean new research seeing daylight, which can potentially offer us either a palpable solution, because we're talking about Saturn here, or maybe a potential solution but we need to experiment further. Now, the trine with Mars and Venus is a little bit different energy, because this is the energy of courage, this is the energy of speaking out, this is the energy of taking palpable action, sharing your work, sharing your creativity, being brave, bold, courageous, and inspiring other people to do the same. And this can also lead to very powerful progress, advancement, and yes, rewards, both in the lives of individuals, but also acts of bravery, big gestures playing out on the world stage that can have a very positive, uplifting, and inspirational impact on others. Now, we also have a very powerful square between Mars and Uranus, being exact today, and this is a totally different energy, because this is a conversation of tension, and each and every time Mars and Uranus meet in this kind of conversation, they're the quickest energies of the zodiac. So this means instant manifestation, usually an unexpected and rather unpleasant surprise. So this can mean that all of your technological appliances, internet, phone, computer, software, online banking, whatever, can just go haywire, can suffer disruptions. This could also mean battles, going on ideological battles on the internet. This can also mean deconstructing conspiracies, which is going to offend people who believe them strongly. This can also mean clashes of more than one ideologies playing out on the world stage, maybe a conflict between politicians, inner conflict between states, uprising, of course, revolution, people rejecting the rules and regulations, people rejecting their leaders, people mistrusting the media, people expressing their dissatisfaction, their concerns, and of course, people inventing new ways to go about this and expressing it. And if the government rejects their ideas, their visions, their futuristic approach to all of this, that can also lead to conflict and friction. Now, for the individual, when Mars and Uranus meet in a square, please respect health and safety rules. Please do not risk, regardless of what that risk means. Perform very dangerous physical activities. Do not expose yourself to harm. Do not be that big of a hero for others, because all of this can lead to accidents. There's a big accident hazard when Mars and Uranus converse this way. And of course, Uranus in Taurus also represents the crust of the earth, so we might see natural calamities playing out on the world stage, which can leave rather devastating effects. The good news is that this is the time when the power of the square is exact. So tomorrow and after tomorrow, it will slowly going to fade away until they lose their connection. Last but not least, Mercury and Neptune also hold the quincunx, a minor astrological conversation with the moon. Now, this is a really mysterious energy because a quincunx is always a surprise. It is always unexpected. It is always random. It links together areas of life and energies which have absolutely nothing to do with each other. So when they are linked together, they have no choice but to find a certain harmony, which to us seems to be weird and unusual. So this can mean really encouraging news which are too good to be true, but it can also mean confusion, it can also mean problems at sea, it can also mean floods, it can also mean disruption of the element of water, it can also mean nervous breakdowns. But the most positive expression of this energy is actually miraculous, because Pluto squares the moon at this time, and that means that the power of fate, the power of your subconscious manifested, can enter your life, and with the quincunx in a most surprising and unexpected manner, maybe your faith is going to manifest, maybe your spiritual work is going to simply perform miracles or something really big in your life. And in the better version, maybe on the world stage, maybe all those group meditations, group prayers, and whatever people have done to help the situation are finally going to produce the first signs that they're working, that that work is relevant, that is helping, that is necessary, that is just as important as any scientific research, that is helping people be braver, be much more themselves, not to fear, not to despair, and just hold on, grab on to the future, that there is a future, that it is going to be okay, that there is wisdom behind all of this, that the divine power is worthy to be trusted. Now today's reading, tarot reading, is opened by the Three of Coins, and this is an energy of encouragement. This is the card of work, labor, practicing, becoming a master. So this encourages everyone who has been working on something during isolation and during these really difficult times to keep on what they're doing, to believe in themselves and the utility, the usefulness, the symbolically the magic within their work, because on one hand they're definitely inspired and guided to do this either by a higher power or either simply by their human spirit, their souls. So they're infusing a little bit of their higher self, they're infusing a little bit of their spirit, of their soul, who they are outside the body, into their work. So it makes it infinitely valuable. It makes it so very impacting, powerful. It does make a difference, even if in the present moment many of us cannot palpably see the difference, but it does. So it wants you to believe more than ever in that whatever you're doing, even if it's just simply staying home and just praying, whatever it is that you're doing, you must do it more, and you must do it with more belief, because it is absolutely what's needed. You are performing your duty. You are doing what you are supposed to, so believe in it and take pride in it. Now the Hermit reversed means that the Hermit itself is the card of service to others, and in reverse position it means that not only have you found your inner truth, not only is your inner light guiding you, but you also found, under the present circumstances, under these very limiting circumstances, your role, your place, what you can do right now, and you're doing it because it's reversed. You are already enacting it, you're already embodying it, and it's going to lead you to a future which is beyond your imagination. It is beyond your expectations because the Eight of Coins is the card of future plans. It is the card of learning. It is the card, just much like the 11th house, where it has all your future hopes and dreams, which are created through foresight, through logic, through rationality. So, because it's reversed, of course, the future you would have liked to experience before all of this began is altered. It no longer exists the way you envisaged it. But because of the work you're doing in the present moment, because all of your effort, not only do you already have allies, partners, or people who see your true value in your life, even if they're hidden right now, and these connections, everything that you do right now, are going to help you create that future which you always like to experience, but in a totally different form than you would have expected it before this began. And chances are that whatever you're creating, whatever you're investing your energy into right now, is going to produce really, really profound, impactful, and even prosperous effects in your life. And your future is definitely going to change. And this is, you don't have to be a fortune teller to know, but not in the negative way that you would have thought. Because, of course, everyone is focusing on, well, the Eight of Coins, the coins energy, the money, the finances. How am I gonna be able to do this, that, without money, without the support of the government, maybe, without the organizations? Is my old job still valid? Is the company that I used to run gonna make it? And all these questions of uncertainty. And step by step, as slowly progressing into the future, while investing all your work into building that reality that you wish to experience, everything is gonna be clear. You are going to gradually see the future that you're walking towards, and that is going to be the most enlightening. That is going to be the most positive thing in your life, because many times, our expectations aren't met, and that leads to failure, that leads to hard feelings, that leads to mistrust in the self. But right now, when you'll see that your expectations, yes, they're not going to be met the way you thought, but when they're surpassed greatly, well, then that is going to be the best news you could ever receive, and you're just going to be living it. Everything is going to fall into place as a puzzle. Now, the reading is closed by the Three of Wands and the Emperor. Now, these cards deliver a very powerful message because the Three of Wands is the card of new perspectives. It is the card when you are not just looking at the world and your surroundings and everything with your physical senses, but an extra sense, the third eye. As in, you have three eyes which can reflect reality back at you. So this means that you can see very, very clearly, very precisely, where it is that you do not have control over, and where it is that your life and society in general is unstable, and you shouldn't really make plans, you shouldn't really make moves, you shouldn't really make decisions, because they're all gonna change. But you also see where it is where you have power. And the Emperor represents yourself. It represents the sign of Aries. It represents your primordial self, your instincts, which are getting stronger, but not stronger as in survival mentality, having to survive this ungracefully, so to speak, but rather it's self-discipline. Rather, when you lead by example. Rather, it is that moment when you understood that this is the moment when you actually have to be your own boss, be your own king, be your own ruler, be your own emperor, and just take control on all those things in your life on which you have power over in this present moment. And this is going to lead you to a greater sense of self-discipline. It's going to lead you into a state where you're no longer in conflict with your ego, when you know exactly what you're doing, when you feel safe within your own life, not because someone gives you guarantees, but because you know how strong you are, you know how fair you are, you know that you have absolutely nothing to fear from karmically or in legally or in any other way, because you lived your life with dignity. And it is only now, maybe after tens, 20, 30, or whatever years in life, when you can see the true blessing, the value, the worth, the spiritual power of dignity. Because you have had a very tough life, and there were so many times in your life, and if you'd abandoned dignity, fairness, your inner emperor, so to speak, you would have had an easy life materially, with all the compromises and deception and you wash my hands, I wash yours and stuff like that, but you always refused it. And many times you ask yourself, are you being naive? Are you being the Don Quixote of modern times, where you just embrace your idealism and the rest of the world is in a totally different reality? And you had doubts, you didn't feel so confident because you saw this as a flaw. But it is only now, when it is revealed to you that it wasn't the flaw, it was the biggest blessing in your life, and it was what you should have always. It was the best choice ever, a choice which is going to be rewarded as soon as that 8 of coins is upright, as soon as you can palpably see, as soon as your mind can touch your future plans, how everything can play out in your life when the world becomes a little bit more stable. But until that moment happens, you have to be the emperor, you have to keep your eyes open, even your third eye, and just reflect. Just see what part of this crisis are you going to allow to influence your life, and which part you have to block out totally. If ignorance is what it takes to block it out, well, then all of us have to use this power. All of us have to use the twisted virtue of ignorance to block out all those things that would darken our vision, that would depress us, that usually have nothing to do with us personally. So there are times when we can get involved out of compassion, but there are other times when we have to block it out and just do our roles, do whatever we can. Because you cannot be a man of 1,000 faces, you cannot have 1,000 hands to have an influence in every single aspect of reality. You just have to use the power of your inner Mars, the singularity of focus and desire, and know that energy goes where your attention goes, where you invest it, where your seed of intention is guided to be planted. And right now, you are being invited and challenged and asked to become your emperor, guard your life, take control over your life with diligence and wisdom, and with your third eye to discern what you can allow to exist in it and what you have to block out, even if you might not agree with this decision on a soul level, because you're a very compassionate person. And these are times when you have to be 100% compassion, you have to align with compassion, you have to be altruistic, but you need to respect the healthy level of this, because going out and dying for no reason, just for the gesture of compassion, is an unwise choice. So you're invited to enforce your inner structure, because just like Pluto changes Capricorn, as in the world stage centralized power, so is it changing your inner centralized power. Which aspect of your being, which layers of your consciousness have a saying in what. So you have to restore order and harmony and be strong and keep on doing everything that you're doing, because it's leading you to the very, very best outcome possible. Well, thank you so much for listening. Have a blessed and safe day, everyone. Bye for now.